Welcome, Walnut. I'm Lara, but you can call me Laz, your host for Walnut Wednesday. This is your reminder to be brave, be yourself, and know that you can make the world a better place just by what you decide today. Here, I'm going to share my weekly walnuttings with you on a Wednesday.
Hello, Walnut. It is me, Laz, here for another episode of Walnut Wednesday. I hope you're having a wonderful week. I hope that you are being courageous and being brave and sticking up for yourself. And I hope that if you are not doing those things, you are thinking about it and being conscious of it and reflecting on ways that you can create opportunities of change for yourself. All of the wise, wonderful, whimsical, woo-woo things that we so love to chat about on Walnut Wednesday. My walnutting this week, I wanted to share walnut a little bit. I'm on the back end of just the feelings of disappointment, and I had a situation it's not really my walnutting, but my walnutting is what came after, where I was just deeply disappointed. And we've talked a lot in previous episodes, a lot of the walnut journey within my book and everything is just about how the walnut journey can be really lonely and people are going to disappoint you, just like you're going to disappoint other people. But it's how we kind of react and behave that changes the trajectory of the outcome of the thing. And so for me, also, walnut being in my condition, I'm really getting on now. I've got a humongous bowling ball. Everything is really hard. I've already told you how I'm feeling insanely vulnerable. And that's not to say that I feel like I'm going to cry all the time and all of the things, but I just feel so needy. I feel like I just need so much extra. And my situation was one that I'm gonna try and avoid all of the details because I don't think that they're very important, and you know that I can story time much easily, you know what am I trying to say? You know that I can story time really well. But basically I had an event and I really needed the support of particular people, and because I reacted to something in a way that I normally would react, which is just being reactive, and not thinking about things before I speak. And I'm not going to hold the entire fault or blame or anything, but on reflection, my part in it was that I couldn't take a breath and take a moment to just not react. And I sent a message. That was my part in the situation. A reactive message that, it could have waited, it could have not, but that was the choice I made in the moment. And I really needed the support of the person, and that eventuated into basically me feeling like I had to do this event all on my own, and I'm this big beluga whale. I got this big bowling ball. I already was just feeling so nervous and anxious of what I was wearing, how I was going to look, all the socialness, all of the people around. I was just so the build up of this event was really tiresome for me. As exciting, in polarity, as exciting as it was, and what a great day it was, I still kind of struggled with it at the same time. And yeah, I really needed the support. I really needed just somebody to be there to help with, just in case. It's the just in case. Just in case I needed something to be lifted up or brought back to the house, or just someone to say, hey, send me a picture of your outfit. I want to know, I know that you were nervous about it, and then tell me I look pretty. On that vulnerable thing. I just needed a little bit extra on that particular day. And on that particular day, I chose to send a reactive message that set this person off, to just sack it all off and not support me and not be there. And it was really upsetting, disappointing, and hard. And for context, there were, no, actually, I don't even really need to give the context, but this was already a discussion point the week prior as well. So it was still a bit on fresh wounds. And then this happened, and it was just a really, really tough day. Tough to discuss it after, because obviously I had other people here staying with me and everything like that. So there wasn't an opportunity to have effective Walnut communication straight away. And on reflection, I feel like I'm actually really glad how this all sort of panned out. So I knew in my heart that I needed to have a Walnut conversation despite all of the things, despite that's Kevin. Kevin patrolling. Kevin is patrolling. Despite all of the, I'm going to have to pause. Excuse me, Walnut. Despite the delays that it took, I'm glad it did, because what kind of came out of it was that the saying that I heard from Alpha Femme a long time ago, which is when emotions are high, intelligence is low. And I just really wasn't able to articulate myself or collect my thoughts or just say what I needed to say as a person who isn't dominant with their voice, and wanting to communicate with someone who is, and who is very not combative, very assured, good at confrontation, and I am not. So I actually kind of valued the time, how time sort of healed it over, but knowing in my walnut self that I still needed to be brave, and I still needed to instigate a conversation and make sure that I have voiced how I feel about it, how it made me feel, my part in it, and have constructive walnut comms. But what I did in the moment, Walnut, before I was able to have this conversation, it was really hard. It was really hard, and it was really sad. And when you're in the pits of the emotion, when the emotions are high, you just either are so deeply sad and disappointed, and it's so heavy, or you're so hot and raged with anger that it's not fair and why me. And so I had all of those waves. And how I sort of navigated through that was really picking through my support network. And I even had a moment where, like, because of my condition, it just brought up the fact that I felt so stuck in it. I couldn't, it's not, being in my condition is not something where I can just like sack everything off and run away and just avoid and not tell anyone, where I am, or go off grid, or go have a bender and go have a party. Like, I don't have that option at all in my condition. And it got me to a point of feeling incredibly lonely. And it's a loneliness, Walnut, that I think only Walnut women in this condition, or who have been in this condition, will truly ever understand. And because it's not something I can really articulate that well. And so when I was feeling this, I articulated it to a friend who hasn't been their first rodeo. And they've been in this condition multiple times, just to say it just feels incredibly lonely and isolating, and just for them to just say, yeah, I so know what you mean, and I get it. And that was all I needed. But so I spent a lot of time where I wasn't able to talk to the person directly, where I was feeling these high emotions, high and heavy emotions, to really go through those people that I needed to hear from. I needed to utilize. So if anything, Walnut, I just want to encourage you to, while you're in good spirits, to think about your little spider web network of collections of people for when you are in a spot like that, because the other person in the situation, they were, the reason for all this behavior and stuff, which we talked about later, was because they felt like everything had bubbled up. They didn't have a support network to go to, because normally that person is me. And I'm the one being reactive and vulnerable and, needing all the things at the moment. So that, they felt isolated and alone and all the things. But didn't utilize the difference between them and me was they didn't utilize their outlets that they have. Whereas I went to talk to my girlfriends, did the voice notes, talked to the people who have been in my condition, that, talking about how I'm feeling, what bothers me, and what is bothering me, and even just making a plan. I had a couple of conversations of like, and so today I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And then someone just having that accountability to be like, sweet, good on you, you know? So that was, on reflection, a big difference I noticed between two people in a conflict, or being disappointed in somebody, and, kind of being in a fight with someone, was that I utilized my network and they didn't. And so they went kind of recluse into shell mode, into little, not even hermit mode, but into just very like, the word coming to my tongue is like the dark place, but it's not really the dark place. But you know what I'm trying to say, Walnut? It's like a recluse, inward, deep and dark and murky. Whereas even though I could resonate with deep and dark and murky and similar kind of like heightened feelings, that my tool was my people and my network and my spider web. So yeah, when emotions are high, intelligence is low. And even though we were both behaving in different ways, the difference between us both was just really interesting to reflect on. And now, what's brought up the when emotions are high, intelligence is low. Now I have had the conversation. I'm on the back end of the conversation. There's still more I want to say. I feel like I didn't raise everything, but because time has kind of like pitter-patted its little paws, and made it so not so heightened, there's no heavy driving emotion behind a lot of it now. I was able to get the gist across, but it also just calmed me down. And it makes you realize what's the important thing to say, by still holding myself to account that I still wanted to have the conversation. I wanted to let that person know how it made me feel, how all the things. I I don't know, time just soothed it a little bit more. That, yeah, when I went to go talk about it, there wasn't really all that much depth that I needed to sort of say, which I found really interesting. And I talked about Walnut, the 5-minute technique that Geordie and I learned. And it was kind of like that, where when someone gets the timer for 5 minutes and they keep talking, and you've got to listen to them. Me being reactive, I'm rebutting and got something to say, and this is how you get into arguments. But because it's their 5 minutes and they've got the mic and you can't talk, by the end of the 5 minutes, they've used their voice, said all they needed to say, and you don't remember what you were rebutting in the first instance. So it's just out. And this is what that kind of was like for me, Walnut, where the time delay between the feeling of the disappointment and the argument and the things, to when we finally had the conversation and I made sure I kept myself accountable to have the conversation, it was almost like that, where it was like I was just talking and talking, and I was like, oh, this isn't feeling as fiery and as heavy and as I thought it would. So yeah, the moral of this episode, Walnut, is when emotions are high, intelligence is low, and sometimes we just don't often take that breath to think about our behavior. And also, I just want to acknowledge, Walnut, that you know, nobody was in the wrong really in the situation. We both kind of did really dumb, silly things, and we came to an agreement of what will happen next time and blah, blah, blah. But I think ultimately being a walnut and being on the walnut journey can feel incredibly lonely, like I have said. And it can feel very, very hard, and people are going to disappoint you. And how you hold yourself in that disappointment and in the communication and behavior thereafter will make the difference of the person that you're going to decide to be, if that kind of makes any sense, Walnut. Yeah, so just that reality check of yeah, it's being a walnut sounds like really delicious and divine on paper, like being brave and courageous, but the nitty-gritty of it is that it can feel just very hard and very lonely. And I just want to acknowledge that, and acknowledge that you've got this, and having those brave little micro moments. And even like me, holding myself to that account, even though it was much easier to just sweep it under the rug and be like, okay, now we're not like arguing anymore, so I'll just leave it and I won't bring it up. You know, even those little steps can make such a difference. And if not a difference, at least have you reflect on yourself and how you want to behave and how you want to be and your part in things and their part in things, and just be an all round more well not well spoken, well communicated walnut, because so much of life is in communication and, you know, reading things the wrong way and blah blah blah. And I'm going on a tangent now, but I hope this makes sense, and I hope you pull a little tidbit out of this, Walnut. But have a happy Walnut Wednesday. Let me know what you think. I know I've kind of like waffled on and a little bit ambiguical, but I would love your feedback, and keep me posted. And you've got this, and you're beautiful, and you're sexy, and you're delicious. And I will talk to you next week. Bye.